Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I already downloaded a video for this morning about John Daly and Kid Rock's girlfriends checking me out. And I was just going to let that one see how that did in the views today, and I didn't plan on making another video, but I was just going through YouTube looking at different videos, and I came across this video, and the link's going to be right down below, and I encourage you to watch it. And I want to talk about it a little bit. This is a recovery video. It's about Duff Mckagan from Guns N' Roses. He was the bass player, I believe, right? Bass player. And this is just another confirmation of, I talk about how once I got into recovery, once I started to go to meetings like AA meetings and NA meetings, I realized that I was no different, that I had so much in common. The stories of the other people there, of why they started drinking, the things that happened to them while they were drinking, just everything. We had so much in common. You know, I used to think that I was all alone. I was a screw up. I had to drink because I was quiet and I needed it to be outgoing. And Duff Mckagan in this video, he talks about, I'm going to talk about two things. He talks about his pancreas bursting, and something extremely similar happened to me. And he talks about his mother. And I was going to do a video just in the last week. I was thinking about, I was thinking about how to approach this about my mother, and because she had a lot to do with my recovery. All right, so let me go over this first, what he says in this video. Like I said, the link's going to be right down below, so you can watch the video yourselves. Duff Mckagan talks about how he hadn't drank water in years, and I know exactly what he was talking about. When I would get up every morning for 2 decades, first thing I would do, I'd wait for the package store to open, and I'd go get like a half pint of Jägermeister. That's what I had for breakfast. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm not saying that as a joke. That was what I consumed for the first thing. You know, some people have orange juice or soda. Seriously, the first thing I drank every morning was a half pint of Jägermeister. And that would just steady my nerves because I would be starting to get sick from the withdrawals from the opiates. And then I would go lie, cheat, and steal. Usually I would go to my mother. My mother was a postal delivery person. And I would go find her. Now I was in my 30s and up to 40 years old. So I was a full-grown man going to find my mommy working. Well, I wasn't working at this point. And, you know, I'd wait till she'd get out there. She'd load up her truck at the post office, and I'd wait for her to go get out on her route. I'd be waiting for her at her first stop where she would get out of her truck and start delivering the mail. And I would this was every single day. This was after I got the Jägermeister. And I would make up, some lie, why I needed, it would have to be at least $50 every single day. $50 would be $30 for a half bundle or 5 bags. And then maybe $5 for gas and $10 for cigarettes. And that was the whole thing. Then I'd go get my fix for the morning about 10 a.m. after I had the half pint. This was every single day for years. And then I would go back and lie, cheat, and steal. I'd pawn stuff. I would do whatever it took to get more money. This was every day. And with that money, by about noon, I would go buy crack. And then I would go through that, and it was a nonstop thing. And I'd keep going. Some days I would go back to my family, to my mother, to my stepfather, to my sister, and make up these lies like 4 times, 5 times in a day, every single day. And my mother loved me so much. She didn't want to see it. You know, I remember looking her in the eye, and I remember going up to her, finding her on her route after I'd already asked her for money 3 times that day. You know, and my jaw's going back and forth, and I could barely stand still. And I'm like, how can she not see this? I'm thinking, like, how does she believe this? And looking back, she didn't want to admit it. Okay. And this was the turning point. I remember I'd been in and out of rehabs 13 times. All right, over 13 times. I'd get admitted into detox at a hospital. I would be there for 5 days. Then I would go into a rehab, and I did this over 13 times over a period of 5 years or so. And I remember one of the last times The doctor, once you go into the detox, a doctor would sit down with you, and ask you, questions, why why you're drinking, how much you're using, I was what they call dual diagnosis, which means I had mental issues and drug issues. The mental issues were caused by the drug issues. I was depressed because of my addiction, really. And I remember him asking me why I wanted to get clean. And this just came right from my heart. I said to him, it just popped out. I said, I want to see, my mother's getting older. At this point, she was still working before she retired. She was in her 60s. And I said, I want to spend time with my mother, clean and sober, while she's still here. I want to have time with her. And that just came from my heart. It just spewed out of me. And I'm getting goosebumps right now. I still remember that. So she ended up retiring. And I got clean and sober on October 23rd, 2006. And I talk about that in another video, how I sat in a parking lot all night, waiting to give somebody I didn't even know my last $20 in change. And he never showed up. And I sat there for hours in a parking lot, a dark, cold parking lot. This was on October 23rd, 2006. And I remember people shopping for Halloween, families coming in and out of stores. And I'm just sitting there with change, waiting to give it after I'd spent $300 that day. And I'm waiting to give this money to a dealer I didn't even know. And he never showed up. And that was the last day I ever used. But now the relationship with my mother is so much different. She's like my best friend now, and I don't know if that's a cool thing to say for a 58-year-old guy. But I see her, I text her every single morning, and she doesn't know how to text, so a lot of times she doesn't text me back. But I reach out to her every single day, and I take her out for breakfast at least once a week. We go out, we go shopping. She comes over here, and she actually likes doing things. She likes getting out of the house now that she's retired, and she likes, putting my special papers, like my organizing my files and stuff like that, my business papers. She likes coming over and doing that. So we spend a lot of time together. I see her like every couple of days, and we have a fantastic relationship. And I thank God that I got clean and sober, that I've had this time with her, because she's 80 years old now. And I look back to when my father died when I was 9 years old, and how strong my mother had to be to raise me and my sister after we lost my father. And I love her so much, and I'm so glad I have this time with her right now. It means so much to me. It's the most important thing in the world right now. So Duff Mckagan, in this video, he talks about after his pancreas burst, that he was in the hospital, and his mother came in, and she had Parkinson's disease, and he had this moment of clarity where he's in pain and he's dying because his pancreas burst. And that's a big deal. And he looks at his mother, and it's that moment that some of us get, that I got the goosebumps again, that we just, it's time to get clean. It's this thing from God or something, and you just stop. That's the last time you ever use. It's the last time he ever used or drank. It's the last time I ever used or drank. And he got this idea in his head that this is wrong. This isn't the way of nature, that he's the youngest child, that he should be taking care of her. He should be looking after her, not his mother with Parkinson's, coming to see him. And he talks about how his mother was crying while seeing him with all tubes in him and everything. And, I can relate to that. It was, a guy's mother. I don't know if that's a cool thing to say. It's one of the most important things. It played a huge role in Duff Mckagan's sobriety and in becoming clean. It played a huge role in mine. One more thing I want to say. This didn't get me clean. When I was 21 years old, it got way worse after this. I was at a keg party, and I was drinking, and I was using cocaine. And the next morning, I went to work, and I got sick. And it was dark. It was kind of dark in the bathroom, and I looked in the toilet, and it looked funny. And I turned the light on, and it was blood. And I told my boss, I was like, something's wrong. I thought I'd get the day off. I didn't think it was that serious yet. I said, I got to go to the doctor. I got to go to the walk-in clinic. And I left work. And on the way to the walk-in center, it got worse. I got more pain in my stomach. And once I got to the walk-in center, I just ran. I parked my car in the parking lot, and I was running into the door, and I got sick again and just threw up all blood in the parking lot. I ran in, ran past the receptionist, ran into a room, and I filled the sink up with blood. I had broken a major blood vessel in my esophagus, an artery, and I had what they call a massive GI bleed from drinking and cocaine. And I was in intensive care at 21 years old. And I remember my mother coming into the hospital room and crying. They pumped my stomach. I had tubes up my nose, down my throat. I couldn't eat. I couldn't even have an ice cube for like 5 days while they pumped my stomach. And it eventually stopped bleeding. I got lucky because I remember being in the ambulance on the way to the hospital from the walk-in center. And I remember looking at my face in the mirror when I ran into that room, and my face was just all white. And it almost started to feel good, like I could just let go. It felt like I was going home. I swear to God. And I realized I was dying. And in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, the guy in the ambulance was sitting next to me, and I asked him, I said, hey, am I going to die? And he said, I don't know. He said, you might. And it just freaking shocked me, because they never say that. And for them to say that, you're in deep crap. But that didn't even get me clean. It got so much worse after that. What finally was the turning moment was my mom. I wanted to spend time with my mother. I didn't want to be that guy, that in his 40s, 50s, whatever, going to his mommy, and taking all of her retirement money, because I took over $100,000 from her. She'd have so much more money right now, but she's forgiven me, and we have such a great relationship now. But it was that moment of clarity where I realized this, I don't want to leave this earth using my mother like that, and having this, I wanted to change the relationship with my mother before either one of us left this earth. That was the most important thing to me. That's one of the biggest reasons I got clean and sober. So I understand what Duff Mckagan is saying. This is one of the things I realized once I started to go to NA meetings and AA meetings, that we have so much in common. He's a rock star. I'm some nobody from Connecticut, and we're like brothers. If me and him sat down, it's just like we have so much in common right off the bat. It's this fellowship that they call this in NA and AA. And I tell you, it's a great thing. It's a very comforting thing, knowing that you're not alone, knowing that you're not the screw up that you thought you're not the screw up, the lone screw up that you thought you were, that other people have the same problems and go through the same things. So it's comforting. All right, the video's down below. Recovery is possible. I've been clean and sober since October 23rd of 2006. Over 17 years and coming up on 8 months. Recovery is possible. Have a good Tuesday.